Hey everyone, welcome. H3 Live with Trish and Steve. Hey, Trish, what's happening?
We are not in the same place, Steve. I hate it.
We are not. How are you?
I'm good. I actually just got back from Las Vegas, 10 days in Las Vegas
Nice.
yesterday. So, yeah, it's been a week since I've seen you. We should kind of update where we've been, what we've been doing. It's back on road trip time, right?
Yeah, so tell me about it. Where have you been?
Well, we were both at Unleash America, which was fantastic. Caesar's Forum, Mark Coleman and the team put on a really, really great event, right? We did how did you feel about the briefing day? We did, like, more briefings, I think, than we've ever done in a day, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of meetings, a lot of talking. I was pretty burned out by the end of it. And I think, didn't we have a dinner to go to that evening as well, which was another 2, 3 hours of that. It's a lot, and I'm kind of introverted by nature, and a full day of engaging with lots of different people, which was great and fun, and we learned a lot. But yeah, it was draining for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the myth, right? People think like, "Oh, your work is so wonderful and exciting, you're going to Vegas." You're in a room, right, pretty much all day, taking meeting after meeting. Now, again, it is exciting technology, we love the tech, right? We love connecting with all the different companies, that part's great, but it is a lot, and, we need to give a shout out to our friends and client, Experian Employer Services, because they
Mhm.
sponsored the the dinner the first night, the dinner we went to the second night, and the analyst room at Unleashed. So thank you to our friends there, Pam and Tom and Rick and the crew. Um, yeah, really fun. But what I really liked was this is the first time, both at Unleashed and then the next one I'll tell you about, that I've gone to sessions. So
Mhm.
I I'd love to hear you went to a few sessions too, didn't you? Which is very unusual. We get
Yeah, only a couple, but I did, and I typically don't get to go to too many sessions as well. But I went to
yeah.
one in particular I thought was really good, and it was around high volume hiring. And it
Mm,
was a good juxtaposition to a session I'd gone to at the event I was at the prior week to Unleash, which was the Phenom event, which was, I also went to a high volume hiring session there too, but
your new
an
theme.
executive role hiring session. And the context look around all this stuff is how AI
Yeah.
is being used, right, to support these processes and to make them more efficient and ultimately to help organizations make better hires and make them faster. And so to hear about the experiences of some of really, really big organizations at Unleash, the two organizations that spoke that I saw were
Mhm.
7-Eleven, which we all know,
Oh,
right? Get your
yeah.
Slurpees and your big gulps and
Absolutely.
whatnot, and Ace
Absolutely.
Hardware, which is
Oh,
a big chain
I
of
love his
hardware
hard
stores
here.
here in the US for sure, and maybe other places. And my local hardware store, I'm at the Ace once or twice a week probably. And
Right?
but hearing them talk about how AI is being used, right, to transform their own hiring processes and their outcomes, which was fascinating, interesting, and yeah. So I enjoyed the sessions I did attend.
Good. Yeah, mine were totally different. I was happy I was the MC of the talent stage, so it was fun, obviously getting to introduce people, um, and what was most surprising, I will say this on the talent stage, some phenomenal speakers, but it was the theme of how interested companies are in the fraud aspect of what AI is bringing to hiring. So,
Mhm.
really deep on that, with all 3 or 4 sessions on that stage, and then I actually did a session, on the future of work, which on the surface sounds super boring, right? Like, we've all talked about the future of work nonstop. Um, no, I was on with an executive from, On, like the running products,
Mhm.
and also SAP, and we were
Okay.
talking about sort of the same thing, right? Not just how AI is being used today, but really truly imagining how it's going to be used 5, 10 years down the road. And so a lot of it's, of course, speculation, but it was just fun to kind of brainstorm with two really
Mhm.
senior executive leaders in these global organizations. And, you know, um, for as many people who I think are afraid of it, there are people like those two where they were just like excited by it. So, yeah, I love going to sessions actually. I don't do that nearly enough, I don't think,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. It was a good couple of weeks. Glad to be home though, off the road for a little bit, and digging into some of the work that we have. I tell you what, like I've been doing, um, catching up on my workplace minutes that I do 2 or 3 times a week. And
Yeah,
one of the things that keeps coming up as I sort of look around for ideas and things to talk about on there is, man, people are still really stressed in the workplace,
oh,
whether it's coming
absolutely.
from
Yeah.
job insecurity or the threat of AI or the perceived threat of AI that it might have on
Mhm.
jobs. Um, Entry level hiring is slowing, especially in tech roles. And
Yeah,
I just did a show about how new college grads will face the toughest job market for new grads in many a year, really since
I'm sure.
probably the financial recession.
Right.
Um, and then stress, right? Just overall financial well-being stress, mental
Mhm.
health stress, burnout, all the things, right? Yeah, it's still a lot. And I think HR and business leaders still have a lot on their plate through the balance of 2026 to just try to be more responsive to these challenges, I guess I'd say.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Everything I'm reading, obviously it's a time of year where all the, job reports are coming out and it is really hard. And having kids in our own lives, right, that are in that, just getting out of school or just entering the true workforce and it's difficult. I think too, the one thing that I kind of get comfort from though is that from an HR perspective, I feel like there's been a big shift back in the compliance side of HR. You and I talk about it a lot because we love it. But truly, when we're out there talking to HR professionals, when you think about getting your compliance side of your business very solid, very secure, less chaotic, it does sort of dial down, I think, some of the stress when it comes to the business. And because if all those things are taken care of, if your pay, your benefits, the way you're treating your people is solid and consistent, then when some of these other kind of levers are getting pushed and pulled, it does make it, I think, a little bit easier to deal with it. I don't know
Mhm.
if you feel that way or
Yeah,
maybe
I
HR in
think it's
particular.
true. I think those things are sort of foundational and prerequisites in order
Mhm.
to really focus on these experience issues. But at the same time, they are experience issues, right?
Right.
Those compliance
Oh.
issues drive experience. We're going to be talking about this next week with our friends from Experian on a webinar we're doing, which I'm really excited about kind of the hidden drivers of trust.
Mhm.
We'll put a link in this video in the comments where it's posted so folks can check out that webinar. It's next week on the 31st of March if they want to check that out. But as we've put that together and researched it and written up the material for that session, yeah, it really is a reminder, right? That people's lives outside of work and what's important to them outside of work is so tied up with, right, what they're doing at work, right? And this is not, I'm not talking about work-life balance, right? I'm talking about
Right.
support for those fundamental life-changing moments, right, in a person's life where compliance and functional HR and core HR showing up for them and payroll showing up for them in those moments is critically important. And
Mhm.
so I think it's a compelling kind of argument to make for the strategic importance, right, of compliance as well.
Yeah. It's so true, and it really is timely too because I just got home. My second week in Vegas was at Transform, and it was my first time there, and I went to several different sessions, and they kind of had them broken into categories. So, a couple of them that I attended were in that health and well-being, kind of what we're talking about area, and just the facts, I mean, I'll do a separate write-up about it because there's so many details, but it was interesting how they were saying that it really truly does matter what your highest level executives are doing in the organization as it relates to handling burnout, giving themselves time and grace, right, when they're having a stressful day, and, the people they're talking about is the people like us, right, the ones who've been doing this for 30 years, and if we're not setting a good example of dealing with our stressors in our lives, both
Yeah.
at work and at home, we bring it into the workplace, and then our teams all the way down to the most junior level, they don't see a good example. So, I know it's been said before, but I think that's more important than ever that if you're in an executive role or even a managerial role, right, and above, make sure that the I guess the resources that are available to you for mental, physical, financial well-being, that you're using them and that you're being vocal about it. Because it's only through your demonstration of using it that your teams are going to feel comfortable using it, right? If not, we're all at work and we're all completely
Yeah.
burnt out and stressed, right?
Yeah, behavior modeling from leadership on down is I think an underrated driver and influencer of
Absolutely.
culture, right?
Yeah,
Not again, not what they say, but what they do, right? And
they
what they
do.
support. So I think
Yeah.
that's spot on, Trish, and really important. Um, so we mentioned the webinar we're doing next week. We should
Right.
mention two other things real quick.
Okay.
One is the Signals Awards that we released.
Yeah.
I don't think we've done a live since those came out.
We have
Those
not.
released last week, I think, at the beginning of the week on our
Yep.
website. Where we'll encourage folks to check those out on h3hr.com, where we recognized a handful, a dozen or so HR tech companies and solutions in this space for doing really interesting and important work across a number of categories. So I'd encourage folks to check those out. And congrats to the folks who were recognized. And then maybe preview some things that are coming up. We've got new announcements that came out from our friends at Oracle and from Paycom. I'm working on
Right.
analysis pieces for the website on both of those as we speak. I'll try to get them done this week. We've got more events coming up. We're kind of square in event season. I know, Trish, you've got a
Yeah.
really busy calendar coming up. Where
I
are
have
you
a
heading next?
ton. Next actually is a trip to Lincoln, Nebraska for my daughter having
What?
knee surgery. So that's a um not a fun one, but hopefully with good results. But no, after that, oh my goodness, so many. The main one really is HR Tech Europe, which
Mm-hmm.
you
All right.
know, like, that's one of my favorites. The European market and the global company representation at HR Tech Europe is phenomenal. And the people one of the differences I've experienced there in Amsterdam versus anywhere else is that the people who attend, they are lining up to talk about these topics. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
truly. Like, they will wait and just because they wanna know. They wanna
Yeah.
know what's happening globally. So
Awesome.
I can't wait for that one. Gosh, we've got Work Human Live coming up. We've got, um, I can't even think off the top of my head. You're going
Yeah.
to Oracle, right? We've
Yeah.
got an SAP
20.
event coming up
Mhm.
shortly. So,
Well, good
yeah,
stuff.
lots
All
of
right, last thing real quick, we got to go. Trish, Nebraska Huskers, March Madness
um,
playing tonight. We're recording this on a Thursday. We'll get this out quickly. Playing
I
tonight
know.
against Iowa. Trish, what's your prediction for the game?
Okay, so this is really interesting because this is someone that they play Iowa a lot, right? This is probably their biggest rival ever anyway, and they both obviously are just gonna fight it completely till the last second, I imagine. I'm still gonna say Nebraska for the win. I actually have Nebraska going all the way on my bracket, which may or may not occur. I'm a believer though, and I've got my old Nebraska shirt on to support them. So yeah, go Huskers, go Big Red, and I'm assuming you're rooting for Big Red too, right?
Yeah, I'll be pulling for them tonight. I'm excited for the game. Last excited for opening day of baseball. My New York Mets are playing today.
Oh,
162-0. Trish, we need to wrap this up. We're
wrap it
almost
up.
at time, but go Huskers, go New York Mets. Thanks for listening. Check out some of the resources and events we've mentioned. We'll put links in the comments to the webinar next week and the Signals Awards and whatever else we've got going on. So good stuff, Trish.
Good stuff. Bye everyone. We'll
See
see
you
you
next
next time.
time.